What's up, everybody? This is Mario, and I'm back today with another episode of the Endurify Your Life podcast. And today, I want to talk about the Endure framework in action with a goal of completing a half Ironman. But first, just wanted to give you a quick update. So, just finished my first full day in Florida, and we're loving it so far. So, I started my day with a run around this Airbnb that we're staying at. And then we actually drove to the beach this morning, just about 10 minutes away, and had an awesome time, just seeing the waves, feeling the ocean air and feeling the sand was a great way to start the day. And then one of the other challenges that Emily and I have, since we are working the first 3 days of the week this week, is we don't have any daycare for Ellie. So normally we send her off to daycare and we're just able to focus on work. But today, we didn't have daycare. So, you're looking at it. I'm taking care of Ellie and Emily is taking care of Ellie. And it happened this morning where we were both in a meeting. And so I had a phone call and Emily was in a meeting. So I ended up taking Ellie and kind of strapping her to my chest in a little baby carrier. And I just went for a walk and I handled my business call from my phone. So it was pretty funny to just see Ellie just kind of hanging out and doing that phone call with me. And she was a champ. And by the end of the call, it was about an hour long, she was passed out. So she's been a trooper so far, just like she has been on the road trip. And I would consider it a success. So speaking of success, there are now only 10 days left in 2020. Let me say that again. There are only 10 days left in 2020, which means this is now a good time to start thinking about 2021 and what do you want to achieve by the end of 2021? What are some goals that you have, some things that you really want to accomplish? And even more so than that, who do you want to become in 2021? Now, for a lot of you that are listening to this, you're going to have a goal around a race that you want to accomplish. It could be a bunch of different things. I'm not sure what that is for you, but you know what that is. You know what that dream race that you've been thinking about, you've maybe been preparing for it, but consider this your nudge. Go for it. Let's sign up for it and really just go for it. And so that's kind of my call for you today. And what I want to do now is let's pretend that you want to complete a half Ironman in 2021. Now, I've been talking a lot about the Endure framework, and what I want to do is I want to take that goal of completing a half Ironman in 2021 and work through that goal with the Endure framework that I've been talking about. So, how can you accomplish completing a half Ironman in 2021 using the Endure framework? Let's talk through it. So the first step in the process in the Endure framework, the E stands for envision future success. So there's 3 parts here. First, what I want you to do is I want you to write down a story from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. So from the time that you wake up to the time that you kind of tuck yourself in at bed at night, 5 years from now. So it's December 21st. It's 2020 right now. In 2025, what do you want your life to look like from the time that you wake up to the time that you go to bed? And write through that in as much detail as possible. Who are you with? Where are you living? Where are you working? What are you eating? What are you driving? What kind of sheets are you sleeping in? Try and be as specific as possible and think about all areas of your life, not just your work life, not just your personal life, not just your relationships, your finances, your spirituality, your everything, your health. We want to think through all of those different areas, write a story and try and capture all of those different areas. Then what we want to do is we want to pick the half Ironman race. And what I want you to do is I want you to visualize what it's going to be like to train for that half Ironman. Okay, see yourself going through the months of training, the weeks of training, see yourself working out in the morning, see yourself biking, see yourself running, see yourself swimming, and then go through a visualization of seeing yourself in during the race. Pretend that you've trained for it. It's race day. You wake up, you head to the course, you pack your bags, you have everything ready to go. Then see yourself starting with the swim, going through the swim, making your way through the open water swim, getting out of there, ripping your wetsuit off, running to the transition area, jumping on your bike, pedaling 56 miles up the hills, down the hills, all of the nutrition. See yourself eating, drinking, doing whatever it is you do on the bike. See yourself completing the bike, going through that transition area again, putting your shoes on and running the 13.1 miles to finish that half Ironman. See yourself running through the finish line. Your family's there, your friends are there, strangers are there, they're cheering you on. See yourself completing that event and go through that visualization in as much detail as possible, and see yourself visualizing that successful outcome. Then, now that we have that clarity, we have that visualization, what I want you to do is I want you to write down your goals or come up with a way to make that goal more visible. So you can either write down, I will complete this half Ironman on this date, and write down the specific date. Whoops. Sorry about that. Write down the specific date, or maybe print out the Ironman logo, something that will remind you of this goal. Put it on your bathroom mirror, put it in your car, put it somewhere in your living room, put it somewhere where you're going to see it frequently. So that's kind of the first step, is just envisioning that future success. Then next, what we're going to do is we're going to commit to actually signing up for, or we're going to commit to completing that half Ironman. So it starts with actually signing up for that event. So if you've already signed up, go for it. If you haven't, or if you've already signed up, good for you. If you haven't yet signed up for the race, sign up right now at this exact moment, because this is where you really commit. And this is where it goes from, yeah, I really want to do this. This is a dream. This is a goal, to something that you're actually going to do, because that's when you commit the money. That's when you commit the resources. And that's when it becomes a specific point in time and a specific location. So that's the next step, is to commit. The next step after that is to get a plan. So there's a couple of different things that you can do for this. You can search for half Ironman training plan or half Ironman beginner training plan in Google, and you'll see a variety of different things that can come up. Or you can go to www.endurify.co/free plan. I'll say that again, www.endurify, so endurify.co/free plan. And once you sign up, once you provide your first name and your email address, then I am going to send you a free plan that I have put together just for you. It's a plan that I have used to complete my half Ironmans, but it's also a plan that is extremely easy to follow. It is simple, it is detailed, but it also has things like mindset exercises and a lot of the things that I've been talking about on this podcast. And once you sign up for that free plan, you'll see some information about my Become a Half Ironman system, which is basically everything that you need to complete your first or your next half Ironman. So things like the training plan, mindset exercises, I have nutritional info. Everything is all there. And that's a critical step for you in the navigate your path, is to get a plan, because this is where you actually start to take the steps that you need in order to be successful. And it's a critical step. And so I want to make sure that you don't miss that. So, you can search for all of these different free training plans and try and, filter those out and try and figure out what's right for you and what's not. Or you can just go to that same link that I provided, and you can have everything there. So next thing that I would encourage you to do is to, find like-minded people. And one of the best ways to do that, I think, is through Facebook groups. So what you can do is you can search on Facebook in their groups function, and you can search for, training for an Ironman, half Ironman, beginner triathletes, and you're going to see hundreds of groups come up. And I would just join a couple of them based on, kind of how the group looks. And that will be important because you can see people who are asking questions and you can see responses to them, or you can have a place to ask your own questions. So that's a really important step where you're actually kind of surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So that's the navigate your path. Then develop consistent habits. This is where you really start to take action. And consistency is the most important thing when it comes to developing endurance. And I'm assuming at this point that you either have your own training plan or you've signed up for the free training plan that I provided. And what you need to do in this step is you need to start to follow that plan. And I would say if you have maybe 6 workouts in a given week, you want to complete at least 5 out of those 6 workouts in a given week. Clearly, 100% success rate is where you want to be. But even me, from time to time, I just, I have a crazy day and certain things, and I miss workouts. But I really try and be as consistent as possible. So once you get that plan, try and follow it to a T. And that is going to be the most important consistent habit that you can do, which is sticking with that training plan. Now that you're working out more and you're really committing the time and energy to it, it's going to be super important for you to prioritize the 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. This is such an important part of recovery for your body, but also your mind. So that's the next thing that I would say for you. So that's the develop consistent habits. Then the next step in the Endure framework is the letter U, and that stands for understand your why. So if you have a plan, you're sticking with it, you're developing these consistent habits, eventually there are going to be obstacles. And when you do have obstacles in your training, in your life, it's super important to understand why are you doing it in the first place. Because if you don't have a strong enough why, a simple obstacle can really just throw you off, and it can just set you off course. So this is why it's super important to understand why you're trying to do it. And what I would encourage you to do at this point is to make a list of all of the reasons why you want to complete this half Ironman. So, I would say set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes and just write as many things that come to mind as possible, because I want to be healthier, because I want to prove to myself that I can do it, because, I want to ultimately complete an Ironman and this is the next step, because, so-and-so told me that I couldn't do it. I don't know what it is for you, but just list out all of those potential reasons why you want to do this. One more thing that you can do, list out who are you doing this for? Who are the people around you that are going to benefit from you committing to and signing up for this race? So maybe it's your friends or your family, where they're going to benefit from seeing you signing up for something. Maybe it's your kids if you have kids. Maybe it's your coworkers. Maybe it's some of your classmates if you're in school. Whoever that is for you, start to make a list of all of the people that are going to benefit from you doing this race. So that's understand your why. Then the next step is in the Endure framework is R, and R stands for race, but remember, it's all about the person you become along the way. So this is where I talked about how, it's not just about the race. It's not just about the half Ironman. It's all about the person that you become along the way. So key things here is to, really focus on that growth mindset. And what I mean by that is, really prioritize growth, really prioritize improving yourself, really embrace that process of mastery, which is all about, are you better today than you were yesterday? Because when you commit and when you accept and you understand that, it's all about the person you become along the way, then you are in such a position of power because you can focus on your improvements over time, and you can kind of surround yourself with people who are better than you in your training, and you can continue to grow and improve. And that is just going to be an astronomical growth curve. Whereas if you just try and play it safe and, only work out with people who are maybe below you, who are, weaker bikers, weaker runners, then you aren't going to improve at the same way that you could. And if you do those things, when you show up on race day, you are going to be ready to go. So that's what it's all about with this part of the process. And then the last step is E, which stands for elevate your life. And this is where I just want to congratulate you for finishing. So we're going to pretend that you have, followed these first 5 steps. You've signed up for the race. You've purchased that plan. You've developed the consistent habits. You understand why you're doing it. You remember that it's all about the person you become along the way, and you've raced and you've completed that race. Now, the next step there is to kind of go back to your story at the beginning of, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? And start to think about, now that you're successful in this one area with your half Ironman, what are all of the lessons that you've learned through this process? How have you changed? How have you improved? What obstacles have you overcome? And then the next question is, now that you've been successful in this, what are you going to go after next? Maybe it's a longer distance race. Maybe it's an Ironman. Maybe it's something else in a different area. Maybe it's a new goal that you have for work. Maybe it's that you want to start a podcast. Maybe it's that you want to write a book. Maybe it's that you want to start your own business. Maybe it's that you want to, move somewhere else. Maybe you want to travel. Whatever it is for you, now that you've developed the confidence from this race, how can you develop the confidence to go out and start something else that's new? So that is kind of the last part of elevating your life, because I just strongly believe that when you're successful in one area, that carries over into every other area of your life. And that's really why I love endurance events and I love training for them. So there you go. That is an example of the Endure framework in action with a half Ironman. And this is a super powerful process, and I'm just really excited about what this framework can do for you in 2021. And so I want you to start to think about, what are some potential things and some potential goals that you want to accomplish in 2021, because we are only 10 days away. And I want you to start to think about what a successful year will look like for you. And I want you to start to think about that now, because you've got 10 days and you've got 10 days to start to think about it, get clarity, start to put some plans in place, start to develop those right habits so that when 2021 starts, you're off and running. So that's what I have for you today. I hope that was helpful. I hope you start to think about 2021. What are some goals? Who do you want to be? And then start to think about how this Endure framework can help you reach your goals. So that's what I have for you today. And I just want you to remember, it's not about the race. It's all about the person you become along the way. Thanks, everybody.